Alright guys, you see that error message? On this unit we had a defrost issue, and if you go to the bottom of your freezer you're going to notice a lot of ice, and that is a defrost issue. In fact, if you look at the back of your fridge, that has nothing to do with the issue at hand, but it's just something that's been going on with frigidaire Electrolux units. So we're going to defrost the bottom of this. You want to remove the cover. If you notice in the right corner, that thing right there, it's damaged already. That's my first sight. And so your evaporator, which is that, should not be frozen like that. It is way frozen. So warm air is pulled across that coil, and when that coil is frozen, it will inhibit the refrigerator from cooling properly. In fact, the fridge would maybe even around 50 degrees, 55. So definitely not cooling. So you need to defrost this thing. A couple of ways of doing it. Hair dryer, but super careful with that because you can melt foam, plastic. I recommend a steamer. Does a better job, more effective, and you can get into corners without damaging any plastic components on the freezer. Side note as well, on the upper corner, two corners, if you look at the evaporator and you look at each corner pointing up, you want to make sure you catch those holes, and those are your return holes. So air is pulled from up there and is pumped up through the center. So you need to make sure those holes are nice and unrestricted. If those holes are not fully cleared out, your refrigerator will not be cooling properly. Freezer will be cold, but the refrigerator will not. You're going to have issues there. Super, super, super crucial. So, also, before you do any repair, you want to make sure you plug the fridge back in just to verify that your fan is running. The codes, the SYCL or CF, I think, it's basically communication error message indicating that something in the defrost system could be bad or not responding. So basically when that code occurs, it could be a bad wire between the board and the user. It could be a bad board as well. But main thing is to check the components first to make sure that nothing is bad or has failed. When things are not communicating, that is basically telling you that the circuitry from point A to point B, the signal is not going through. So for this case, it was a bad bimetal. So when the heater turns on, it was not going all the way through. The board was not getting a signal back telling it that the unit is being defrosted. So that error message came up, and obviously it was probably their customer just ignored it because the fridge was cooling, but obviously it took a while. That's the hole we're talking about. Make sure you blow those out well, and you should be able to go inside the fridge and feel air coming out. And you have another one on the other side. Make sure you get both of those out. There it is. Very, very crucial. If you do all the de-icing and you forget those, you're still not going to be cooling. Make sure you get them. Now you can see that bimetal, that shiny and blue thing with the two wires connected to it. And that is the issue with this unit. And make sure you get a good defrosting. Bottom line is, if you still have a lot of ice built up, then you're still not going to be cooling properly. Now this is the bimetal. It was located in the upper right corner. As you can see, just by looking at it, that it has failed. I think I am checking the heater here. You want to make sure your heater is good. Heater's good. Now the bimetal, I did not have the exact model specific, if you may say, but the one I'm using is the exact you may say the exact replacement, meaning the tolerance, the temperature range, everything's the same down to a T. So it's totally fine. The computer will not know a difference. It doesn't care what it looks like, providing it's the right temperature range, which was what I did. That was not why I chose that. So, and to do that, you basically cut the ends off and solder. Always sorted them. Everything was sorted. It's a better connection, and it keeps everything nice and tight. And of course, heat shrink. A little one-handed struggle there, but wasn't too bad. Now, when you're all done with your repair, you want to give the fridge, you can let it run for 24 hours, and then you want to unplug the unit for about 15 minutes or so, and you want to let the code, if the code is still there, then you want to unplug the unit for about 15-20 minutes, maybe less, and let the code exit the board, and then plug back in, and the code should go away. If the code is still there, you might want to check the connections on the board itself. In fact, could be a bad board, but I would actually just wait and see if the unit does go into defrost. In fact, you could have a bad board after the bimetal has failed. Not common. Usually 2 days and the code is gone. So keep that in mind. Alright, so we're getting ready to put the panel back on. You do have a ground strap, which is the green wire. Make sure that is connected. And on these models, you can remove the entire trim. It does make it a little bit easier to put that cover back in, but it is pretty flexible. It bends and it slides in, piece of cake. So I would just take the door off. And I think they're 9mm, I think. And just remove the door, lift, and then you just go in there and just remove that panel. Don't forget that ground strap, and then of course your ice maker connector. Almost done here. Now, make sure your door on your bottom of the freezer, make sure that when you install it, that the seals are sealing good. And you can always use a dollar bill or a note, dollar, whatever, to make sure that the bill is snug when you close the seal against it and it's not easily removed. So, a few things to keep your unit up and running nice. Alright, so we're just about wrapped up. I was able to use my freeze spray and close that bimetal, which basically reset the board faster. So the code did go away in this case, but you can just unplug the unit after the unit has reached temperature and re-plug it back in and you should be good. Thanks for watching.